I thought today I would bring a teaching on prayer. That is a most important topic, of course, for any religion, and it's especially important for a disciple of the Christ. I would begin by making a blanket statement by saying I don't know how that one's discipleship can proceed apart from an ongoing, active life of prayer. And that to make that statement often leaves guilt in the wake. That's not really what I'm talking about. I think that we have to look at prayer in a different way and understand that much of what we've been taught needs to be unlearned when it comes to the topic of prayer. I was taught that prayer would be defined by the word asking. That when you're in prayer, you're asking God for this or that. And I would say that asking, of course, can be part of prayer, especially if we are performing intercessory prayer. But prayer itself is much deeper and much more profound. And so I thought we might just begin with a brief definition. Of course, you're welcome to disagree. But I would define prayer as anything that brings our focus to God. That might be something as strange to us as a Christian rock song or another type of rock song, a jazz piece. Thelonious Monk's strivings and stylings in jazz, if you're not careful, can make you think about the improvisation and the power behind that mind and how did it get there and where's that gifting, what's the origin of that gifting, and all of a sudden you can begin thinking about who God is and what God does in the human race. That's prayer. But typically we think in terms of those activities, those what we would call the historic Christian practices that cause us to focus on God. I believe that's prayer. Bible reading is a form of prayer. As we're reading and we're allowing the words of the text, the ancient dead words, suddenly to come alive within our hearts and allow those words to speak to us in a way that they have never done so before from that text. That's prayer. And so I think if we begin to think in terms of prayer as turning our attention to God, seeking God, and doing so in ways that we find comfortable and ways that we can sustain. I mean, typically we were taught back in the day that you went on your knees before God and you went into a prayer closet and you spent hours there. Who could do that? Well, I find that there are times when those type of prayers can be sustained if we can understand that prayer is focusing on God, listening, shutting our mouths. Now think about that. Being in silence before God and allowing Him to speak to us. That's a learned practice, and it's an ancient practice in the church that has been forgotten and is only now being rediscovered.